It's Lee Stranahan. I'm getting ready to go here. Give me just one sec. I want to try to bring this up. I'll say hi. Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. So I'm here at the office of Citizen Journalism School and Populous.tv in beautiful Alexandria, Virginia, where it is slightly snowy. It was snowing pretty much from when I left work at 10 a.m. yesterday, intermittently throughout the day. What I'm doing is I'm bringing up on my iPad, I want to be able to bring up the room so I can see comments. So while you're coming in, while I'm doing that, oops, let me not do that. Do me a favor, retweet this puppy, let people know. So I'm going to give you a perspective on this that I'm not really seeing from a lot of people. And I hate to be the fuddy-duddy on this, but I don't know what some people are thinking. I don't know what Jack and a number of other people, I like Jack and I like Will Chamberlain, and not Wilt, Wilt's fine, but Will Chamberlain, I like him. I'm not even going to post what they're doing. They are doing a really dumb political strategy here, which is they are buying in to the Democrats' premise, setting the lowest possible bar for racism over this Ralph Northam thing. And you know all about this, right? You've heard about this, obviously. It's been going around since yesterday. We didn't talk about it in the show. I would have, but it hadn't come up yesterday. It was reported Friday afternoon that, oh, hang on one sec. That reminds me. I got to do one other thing. See, again, I'm switching all this stuff. So if it looks like there's fancy graphics and everything, there are fancy graphics and everything, but they come at a cost, which is I'm the one who's got to do them. Hang on one second. I can't even find one of the things I'm looking for. I'm looking for, hang on. I had a whole page set up to show you. There we go. There we go. Sometimes on the Mac, which is what I use, things kind of vanish. It's that genie effect where they kind of disappear down to the corner, whether I want them to or not, and that's what happened here. Okay, so I got some stuff to show you here. I want to talk about this. I'll show you the New York Times article on this. Let me bring that up. No, wait. Oops. And then here, and then ready. There we go. Okay, so here's the New York Times article. I want to point out a couple things from this article that also shows the photo. Now, let me say this. First off, I'm going to say what nobody is saying about the photo. If this dude were a Republican, all these Republicans would be saying this. This is not a Klan rally. That's not what's going on. This is an outrageous costume at a party in 1984. When around the time, I could be wrong in this, was the Dukes of Hazzard even, I'll bet the Dukes of Hazzard was on at that time. You remember, I don't know if you remember this, kids, but we used to have a TV show called the Dukes of Hazzard. And on the Dukes of Hazzard, there was a car with a Confederate flag on it every episode. I'll tell you something else. Let me tell you something else. There was a band called The Band. Perhaps you've heard of them. They did a film called The Last Waltz. Great film. Amazing performances. It was their last concert. Okay? It was their last concert. Van Morrison was there. Neil Young was there. Bob Dylan was there. Clapton. Amazing. Plus the band themselves is just amazing. Joni, it was just amazing. But go watch that film. Do you know what there are in the background of that film all over the place? Do you know what there are? Confederate flags. Tom Petty. Leonard Skinner. People, when I was growing up, Leonard Skinner, people would wear Leonard Skinner Confederate flag patches all the time. That was the way things were then. Now, I'm not even urging that we go back to that time. I'm merely, because I've never been that into the Confederates, right? But what I'm pointing out is There was a time, and 1984 is around that time. I can trace it because I was 18 years old in 1984. Does that make sense? So what's going on is that this thing about Ralph Northam here that we're seeing is actually just a bunch of politically correct bullshit. See that photo? See that photo right there? That is a party photo. See the beers? And you normally don't see a Klansman in the living room. They don't, when you light the torch, the cross there, it tends to not go back. Okay? So what's going on here is, first off, and again, I'm going to say it, this is a bullshit accusation. To accuse Ralph Northam of racism based on this 1984 photo is exactly the kind of politically correct identity politics, not sincere bullshit that the Democrats have been doing for a decade. Am I right or am I wrong? Now, what's happening is people who would agree with me on that point are saying we have to attack Northam on this. We have to call for his resignation. That'll show the Democrats you're fucking insane. Let me point this out. I say this with all due respect, but you're fucking insane, and here's why. Let's look at the article. Let's look at the Democrat reaction, shall we? We don't have to go down far. In this article from the New York Times, not the bastion of conservatism, to say that the first calls for him to resign came from Kamala Harris, Kristen Gillibrand, Julian Castro, right? Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, the mayor, right? So I just want to point out that the Democrats are not being hypocrites on this. The major Democratic presidential candidates are all calling for him to resign. So they are going along with their own bullshit standard here. You dig? You see what's happening? The Democrats, I'm just going to say this again, they're not being hypocrites. They're doing what they do. They're calling for it. What's happening is Northam himself is not stepping down and resigning. That's true. That's true. Now, let me ask you this. Let me put it this way. Let me give you a hypothetical, for instance. The Democrats have this stupid bullshit standard. And now some people are coming along saying, well, we got to play by their rules. What? When did the Democrats ever play by our rules? I'm going to ask that again. I'm going to give you a specific. Let's go with a hypothetical here. There are Democrat issues and there are Republican issues. There are issues that Republicans care more about, such as abortion, where Republicans tend to be more pro-life, and bullshit cries of racism, which is the entire Democrat playbook. Bullshit cries of racism is pretty much the entire Democrat playbook. They played it against McCain when he was running. They play every Republican they play it against. So now the suggestion of some people on the right, children who I'd never heard of before 2016, in some cases, are suddenly now political pundits. Never heard of you before 2016, but here you are now, you're a political pundit. You're now suggesting that the right strategy is to... No, so let me just take you on this. When the Republicans were pointing out the problems with what Northam had said about abortion, that some have said was pretty a lot of people admitted was offensive, and some said calling for infanticide. Right? Did you see Democrats take up the charge? Oh, the Republicans set the standard. We gotta do it. No, you didn't. You didn't. And now you may be saying to yourself now, well, wait a second, Lee, but Republicans don't set the standard, Democrats do. I know, and it's the standard that I question. I am consistent on this. 100%. This is a bullshit attack. Therefore, when the next bullshit attack is used against a Republican, I'm not a hypocrite. Because I say, I called it bullshit when it happened to Northam, and I called it bullshit that it's happening now. I call bullshit on it. These other people, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? After you're calling for his resignation over a party photo. Oops, hang on. Wrong button. Over a party photo. By the way, if you think he needs to go, great. But by the way, who do you think you're getting? Someone saying, I'm a Virginian. I'm a Virginian too. I'm a Virginian too. I didn't vote in this last election, but I certainly wouldn't have voted for Northam. But you know what? He doesn't need to go over this. This is the wrong thing for him to go for because it empowers Democrats. That's all that's going on. Oops, wrong button. You're empowering Democrats when you take a party photo. They are going to use this to say that the Democrats are the consistent ethical party with one standard. And by the way, racism is bad and wrong, therefore, it's nothing that you should fake outrage over. You shouldn't pretend. If you're genuinely, by the way, if you're genuinely offended by the photo, I can't speak to your heart. I can't. But if this photo from 35 years ago, in the historical context it was in, which was, like I say, Dukes of Hazzard and Leonard Skinner and everything else that was going on, if you're genuinely offended by that, I can't speak to that. I'm sorry you're offended. Whatever. I think you got a brittle spirit a little bit. I really do. But okay, toughen up a little bit. I'll put on the Retreat This Puppy while I drink. But, that being said, although I feel for you, I don't agree with you. And I think your standard is so low that it's going to be used against every Republican. This should not be the standard. Now, these are people who aren't thinking things through. Northam will be replaced by the, well, let's look to the article, shall we? The article points out the Virginia Black Caucus came out against him. Again, these are all Virginia's two Democratic senators, Mark Warner, gently nudged Northam towards the exits. The Democrats are all in on this. And by the way, you see I have a Dominion Energy. See, I am in Virginia. Hang on one second. If you want, like I say, if you want to call for someone's resignation, call for them for your issues. I can't follow them looking for. They talk about here we go. If Mr. Northam were to resign, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax would assume the governor's office. Mr. Fairfax, a Democrat, was the second black person to be elected to statewide office in Virginia. There we go. So that's what you'll get. And well, by the way, whatever. Before I get misinterpreted, it's not that he's black. I didn't write that. I'm just reading to you literally what they said. What you'll get is another Democrat. That's what you'll get. I just want to be super clear on that, since apparently playing the bullshit politics game is what we do now. So again, I am quite sure I'm going to piss off some people. This is why I want to look at comments. So I'm quite sure I'm going to piss off some people saying this, because some people think this is the mistake I see people make all the time. Oh, well, we can play the game or we can lay there and take it. What the fuck are you talking about? I know people say that shit, but it's like you haven't thought it through. We can play their game, or, well, by playing their game, you are taking it. You follow me? By playing their game, you are taking it. I would say the actual choice is you can either play their game or not play their game. By the way, do I think this is this is originally published by Big League Politics. And do I think this is a valid story for a conservative media outlet to cover? Absolutely yes. it is valid to point it out if it comes up. It is valid to point it out if it comes up. What's not valid is then to play the Democrats' game and pretend that this photo is somehow an example of racism or somehow proves racism, or, oh my God, he's dressed as a Klansman, and who would do that? I don't know. Apparently these guys in 1984 thought it was funny, and you know what? It's goofy. That's what it is. It's actually, if you think about it, it's kind of making fun of racism. It's making fun of racism, right? Now, again, is there anything you do today? No, because you'd be killed, right? You'd be killed. You couldn't possibly do that. But that was, by the way, that was also the same time that you had people like George Carlin and Richard Pryor and, Bill Hicks, and actual political comedy. So I think it's valid to publish a story about it. But I would publish the story and go, the Democrats will doubtlessly use this as an example. I don't believe it proves Mr. Northam is racist, but they'll undoubtedly play it. Far more concerning to me and many Republicans are Northam's recent comments on, you see what it's like not to be a hypocrite? See how that sounds? Kind of sounds okay, doesn't it? Feels good, too. Got to tell you, I sleep pretty well at night because I don't play this bullshit game. It feels good to be able to say, here's the story. This is not a standard I have, but Democrats will doubtlessly take to this like sharks to chum, right? And sure enough, then to be proven right. But if you think, and the other argument that I hear people making is that, well, maybe the Democrats will be sick of it. Apparently fucking not. No, Democrats, they're not sick of it in any way. I just brought that up. I was trying to show you. Let's go over that list again. Here it is. Let's go over that list. All the Democrat presidential candidates who've jumped out. Well, that'll show them. What? You didn't show them anything. You showed them you're a hypocrite. You showed them you're a weak Republican. You're a weak Republican. Giving into your opponent's standards is weak. I don't know what else to say it. You see what I'm saying? And I'm sorry. Like I say, I'm sorry. At the advanced age, at least of my beard. I'm 53, but my beard is clearly in its 60s. I don't know what's going on with that. But at my advanced age, and with the real problems of authoritarianism in this country, and the real problems that are caused by people crying bullshit racism, call out real racism all day. I'm with you. I'm against real racism. Whether the racist in question, whatever race the racist in question is, and whatever race the racist in question is racist against. I also realize that human beings are different. And they do have ethnic and cultural and every other difference. And that when people get along, which is not crying racism at a low bar, it's better. But this is just bullshit. It's just bullshit. So it's not a real issue. And like I say, all the Democrats are in on this. And so then what they'll be able to say is, by the way, here's what they'll say the next time this comes out. They'll say the Democrats, when the Ralph Northam issue came up, Democrats jumped to call for his resignation. Why aren't Republicans calling for Judge so-and-so's resignation over his 40-year-old photo that showed him watching a Leonard Skinner video? Because that's what it's fucking coming to. I'll give you I'm going to give you a perfect example. I'm going to give you a perfect example. And the culprit was black. Okay? I'll give you a perfect example. I don't follow sports. But the kid who won the Heisman recently, I don't know who that is, but the guy who won the Heisman recently, 21-year-old kid, something like that, 21-year-old kid. He got attacked over tweets that he made that were homophobic, which I assume Collins, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get banned, the F word, the word that lots of guys use, especially when they're 15, right? On Twitter to people. It's gotten to the point of political correctness. And again, it does eat its own, but there's lots of them to go around. You think that this eats its own, they'll throw Northam under the bus, no problem, whatever. But that thing with the Heisman where the kid was attacked, I don't think we should be attacking people over stuff. And even say, well, he's in medical school and blah, blah, blah. It's 35 years ago. It's a party picture. Come the fuck on. You're not going to convince me for 1 second that Cernovich or Jack or Cassandra is actually fucking offended. You're not going to convince me for 1 second. Not one that they're offended. Furthermore, you're not going to convince me for 1 second that if this was a Republican, and it kind of looks like one, and the reason I say that, this is a good old white boy, right? That's what's going on here. This is a good old Virginia white boy. I don't say that disparagingly, but he's got the hat, he's got the vet, right? That's what's going on. I don't think good old white boys are racist inherently. I just don't. That's the bullshit we're supposed to buy into. You see what I'm saying? So I just, like I say, you're not going to convince me that if the R was on the end of his name rather than the D, that they'd be acting differently. And so there you go. So that's what I got to say. I thought I would do something on this. I'm going to look at comments. Feel free to comment. If people have questions or comments, I'm going to look at the screen now. Someone's saying Jack and Sir. And by the way, I'm going to repeat this. I like these guys. Even Cerno and I are getting along better. I don't like calling him Cernovich. Even he and I are on better. But, maybe not now. And Cassandra, I like Cassandra a lot and blah, blah, blah. I know how they're thinking. They're very clear how they're thinking. We have to, but they're like not getting what they're doing is adopting exactly the same standard. And the Democrats, as I point out, aren't being hypocrites. Someone saying maybe it was a black and white party. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Someone saying, wear that costume outside if you don't think it's racist. No, I wouldn't wear a MAGA hat outside, almost, today. Because it would be accused of being racist because of the bullshit standard. You fucking moron. What I'm saying is, pay attention, dummy, that in 1984, a party photo showing that, I'm not discussing whether it's racist or not. I'm saying that costume doesn't show that that guy is racist. It shows that he was out having an outrageous costume party thing. What, you know, some people, have you ever been to a costume party? Dummy, have you? Have you ever been to one? You know, one of the goals is actually to surprise people so they comment on how outrageous your costume it is. That's what's going on. So that may be your standard, and if that's your standard for racism, have at it. That's not my standard. That's not most of the country's standard. Someone's saying it's a racist picture. I don't think it's a racist picture. By the way, pictures can't be fucking racist. People can be racist, but inanimate. Oh, look, it's my racist mouse. It's my bad racist mouse. Bad. Can you think? I'm just asking. For you know, I'm curious. Are you capable of actually thinking? The picture is a picture. Does it show? Is it a Klan rally? Yeah. I just don't know. So I'll try looking at comments. It is white. That's right. Someone's pointing out that the mouse is white. And I could have bought a black one, but look at this. The mouse pad is black. So it's like, you see what I'm saying? It's a racist setup here. By the way, I would actually like the iMac Pro is black with a black mouse and black keyboard, and black is beautiful. I would like one of those. So if someone sends me a donation this morning of $15,000, I'll be able to pay all my debts and then guiltlessly buy that computer. Although I do need it for work, so I shouldn't feel guilty anyway. But there we go. So any other comments that I can get pissed about? Or I just don't understand. Like I said, if you have at it, you go live on that world where that's racism, and that proves that he's racist. Everything he's done for the past 35 years, fuck that. That party photo really revealed it. No, it's pretty. I don't know if you said, someone's saying space gray is not black. That's racist against space and gray. When someone's saying Prince Harry and didn't step down, that's because he's a monarch. You don't step down. Whoops. What's happened? Hang on. I just noticed that the screen had stopped. I get this sometimes. Yeah. Do I know any racists personally? Someone's asking. Well, I've interviewed David Duke. I've interviewed Matthew Heimbach. I've interviewed people from the New Black Panther Party, which racist. So even if I'm just using the which I don't accept them, the Southern Poverty Law Center standards, those who called them racist. Yes, I have. And do you know what? They're racist are very clear about they're not. David Duke, he was not like, well, no, I like black people and whatever, and then I said, aha, but I found this 35-year-old photo of you at a party. David Duke used to wear an actual Klan outfit, not at a party, but like on the Donahue show. Then, and by the way, let me say something about a lot of these people who I have interviewed. Maybe you should interview them. Even the racists I've interviewed, who are racist according to me, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, actually they get demonized too. So, for instance, Duke quit the Klan because he opposed violence within it. So you can argue factually about this, but you can't win on that one because that's what happened. So a lot of these people, I see the same thing with Farrakhan. There's not been a big wave of a Nation of Islam violence, but they're treated that way. The Klan, let me explain to some of you. The reason the Klan was bad was not because they went to parties with people dressed in blackface. It was the whole terrorizing and lynching and killing thing especially when they were Democrats, when it was a Democrat organization. That was the thing that they did that was bad. It was not the iconography of it. You see what I'm saying? That was the problem. So there you go. So I'm saying, what about Hillary mentor that was Robert Byrd. And here's the other thing too. Robert Byrd, pretty clearly changed. So he was a KKK grand wizard at one point. I don't think that guy could possibly get elected today, Byrd. And I have a lot of problems with Byrd anyway. But the fact that he changed, here's the thing. Let me just say this. Despite my anger, I won't let the sun go down my anger. Let me say this about my Christianity. My Christianity affects things here a little bit too, and here's how. First off, as a Christian, I believe people can change. That's actually sort of inherent to Christianity, right? Sorry, there's a lot of stuff we can disagree on as Christians, but you have to agree people can change, or there's no point. Now, those amongst you who are sort of, hardcore Amish or something like that, if you're a pre-destiny person, I guess I can't talk to you. what's the thing? Tulip, which is the, I forget what it is. It's the Dutch Reformationist or something. They're complete. They basically, there's a certain number of people who are predestined to go to heaven. That kind of ignores what a lot of stuff Jesus was talking about, but let's ignore that. Okay, so I believe people can change. I also don't believe in an eye for an eye. And a lot of what goes for this, and by the way, not believing it for an eye, Christ was pretty clear on this. Turn the other cheek was pretty clear. But I'm also, and then I see people who claim to be Christians go, well, I'm not just going to lie down. Well, that's kind of what Christ suggested you do. But that's not what I'm suggesting here. Because Christ is my Lord and Savior, but not my political consultant here. I'm not suggesting lie down at all. I'm suggesting not adopting their standards. Right? That's all I'm suggesting. That's what you're doing, is adopting their standards. You're being tempted into adopting their standards. So I just thought I would mention that. Yeah, eye for an eye is Old Testament. Not only that. Well, go read the sermon. Someone's saying he didn't suggest lie down. Go read the Sermon on the Mount. So the Sermon on the Mount, someone was bullshitting me yesterday. I'll just say this. The Sermon on the Mount is a complete reset for a lot of things in the Old Testament. That is clearly what it is. He is saying, you've heard this, but this. You've heard this, but I say to you this. You heard this, but I say to you that. Christ did actually kind of say lay down. He did. He did. He said, and depending on which version, I'm just going to paraphrase, but he said, if they're going to send you to prison, I forget, the different translations say it differently, but if they're going to send you to prison, give them your coat. In other words, he did kind of say lay down. You can argue at that point. You can not be a Christian, but don't be a Christian and deny that Christ said that, because that's not being a Christian. And I'm pretty lax about that. I'm pretty easygoing. But don't deny that's what he said. That's very what he said. He did flip the tables. He did. Right. I agree with that. But right. But he didn't flip the tables onto somebody. Right? So I'm saying only in reference to evangelizing. That's not true. That's not true. That's not who he was talking to. So, again, if you want to deny what the plain text of what Jesus said, don't say you're a Christian. It's fine, but just don't say you're a Christian. I have no problem with it. Be a Christian or don't be a Christian, but Jesus was very clear. And anything else is your emotions. There we go. So, but I got to say, that being said, I'm not saying don't publish it. Publish it. That's the truth. That thing happened. Then watch the left tear each other apart. Then get back to the abortion issue. Then just report on it honestly. But again, this is how I roll. I might have a much bigger audience. It's true. If I were to jump onto every trend. But I don't. Yeah, there's other people talking about Christian stuff and I appreciate it. Anyway, I'm going to roll. Love you guys. I'm sorry about my racist mouse. It's very sad. Anyway, I got a lot of work to do this weekend, so I'm going to go do it. We're building stuff. Oh, by the way, we're building stuff at citizenjournalismschool.com. I got to go get some stuff ready to get the Populist page going. We have great volunteers who I love, and I got to get them. I have not been able to build this stuff so they can do work. Also, I'm just going to throw this out. I'm working on some virtual reality stuff that's really, really neat. And I think it's a great way to present ideas as well as art. And I'm going to be doing a course that shows you how to do it. If you want to develop stuff, I got it here. My son Jack bought an Oculus Rift a long time ago, but this is the Oculus Go right here. This is the Oculus Go. And the Oculus Go is $200. And it's completely self-contained. There's no computer or phone or anything required. This is an affordable, high-quality VR system. $200 is a consumer price point that a lot of people can afford. So my point is, and there's very little content for it right now. The content is pathetic. So therefore, if you create content, like I'm going to be doing, a gallery of my photos that I took covering the Black Lives Matter movement as a reporter, that you'll be able to walk around like an art gallery. You'll be able to walk around and see my photos in a way that I've determined, with lighting that I've set up, with textures on the wall that I set up, everything else. You'll be able to walk around like you're walking around a gallery, and then you'll be able to go to a screen and click on a video and watch interviews I've done with people, short clips of interviews I've done with people. With that kind of thing, it's neat. And the fact is, we're at the early stages of this game. So I'm going to be doing a course showing people how to develop. I've got a career. I've been doing journalism about 12 years. Before that, I was a computer graphic artist. I worked for 5 years in Access Hollywood. I was a visual effects artist who worked on movies and TV shows for HBO and for Fox, and that's my background. I consulted for a day on Jurassic Park because I knew about digital painting systems, and that's my background. And so this is a different thing for me, and I'm just going to mention it. But if you're interested in developing this kind of VR stuff, because it's a brand new world, I got a new course coming out soon, and I got to work on that this weekend. So as I think about this stuff, but there we go. So let's see what we covered. I think we've covered. Someone's asking the rabbi who talks about Zionism. That's Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, and I believe Yaakov is spelled Yavoff, but I often get it wrong. I think it's spelled that way, and then I type it in, and I'm either right or wrong, and I can't remember. But anyway, that's another course. So let's go over. We went over the Ralph Northam thing. We went over Republican strategy. We went over Jesus, VR. I think that's a fair summary. Okay, love you guys. But I do have to work. Talk to you later. Bye. Oops. Let's try it again. There we go.